Oh, there we
Hey,
go.
we're on.
I think people were may have been thrilled with the idea that we weren't coming back, but
Spam their feed with a bunch of stuff. We need to
sucker.
start. We need to start doing what all the other podcasters do, and like take 30-second clips and just post them right every 30 minutes. So that I think these are automated systems that do this now. So
Yeah, there's some AI thing that you could do, and it'll split them all up for you.
cut out the juiciest moments where it's like, oh, he
Right.
said that on. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
What are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do about that? Hot
Yeah,
take.
hot takes, man. Well, shoot. So, what's been keeping us off the air? So you're a professor, and because you're a professor, you had finals, and
Yeah, final
yeah,
season, especially for spring because it's the end of the school year. Fall finals, ends up in December. You got a break for Christmas, and then you're back to it. And yeah, that's not the way it is in spring because everyone's going to be gone for 3 months. There's so much stuff that has to be done. A lot of meetings, a lot of paperwork, a lot of grading, and so we would get to Wednesday, and I'd be like, dude, I can't. I've got meetings that go all the way to 7 p.m. And stuff, and so. It's my fault this time. Just the nature of the academic schedule. But now I get to sit here without a care in the world, drinking and here it is. Check it out. This is what summer looks like right here. HEB zero
old fashioned.
sugar root beer. Oh yeah. Don't
Good for you,
don't tell
man.
anyone.
Good for you. I've got some HEB all natural Texas spring drinking water here. Also
Well, see,
zero sugar.
this is the same. It has the same nutritional value, just with extra chemicals.
Perfect.
No caffeine, no sugar, no nothing, man.
Well, man, so we got a whole smorgasbord of stuff to pick from here. It's been
Oh
three
yeah.
weeks since we've been on here.
Yep.
What do you want to run with?
I don't know. Hit me. Let's just get started. We can do. I have some end of semester reflections that might be kind of fun,
Oh, let's
but
do that. Let's do that. Yeah,
we
we'll open with some reflections.
okay. So one of the fun things that I get to do that I tend to forget about during the year is that at the end of my intro philosophy class, we read Pascal. I don't know if you've ever read any of his work before. Famous
I tried to
French
learn how to code in
in
his
Pascal.
language, but
Yeah.
in
From
Pascal, yeah, no,
Niklaus Wirth invented that
right,
language. Yeah. Um,
right.
Yeah, so it's he's a mathematician and philosopher in France, late 16, early 1700s. Can't remember the exact dates. And he had these series of notebooks that he never published during his lifetime, but after he passed away, some his editors, compilers put it together and published it as just pensées, thoughts. So this is thoughts, and they're
And this is from, if I remember right, 1600s, right?
yeah, I can't remember exactly when he lived. He was
I mean, that's
1623 to 1662.
yeah. So
So,
pre American Revolution,
oh
pre
yeah,
French Revolution,
yeah. But
pre
during the
pre free.
Reformation's going on. He's in France and Catholic, and so he's kind of like looking at the stuff going on, and he's England and Germany, like, whoa, what's
And
going?
he has thoughts. He has thoughts.
Has thoughts. He has thoughts about all sorts of stuff. One of the things that he talks about in there is human vanity. And he says that he has this interesting observation. It goes on for some length about, and um, I usually assign this the last week of class, and I usually forget that it's there until we get to it, and I open up the section. I'm like, oh yeah, this part. And basically, what he says is that human beings, in order to love themselves, have to lie to themselves about what they're really like. You have to sort of present to yourself a version of yourself that has no faults, that is success, that is all these things, and that you'll kind of fight yourself in order to maintain that storyline about who you are. But the thing is that everybody else, that it's not true, and
Right.
but you have to basically take it as your life mission to prevent anybody else from
From
finding out
finding out.
either. And so
Right.
you wind up becoming enemies with the truth, because of your effort to maintain this self-love that you hold so dear. And so he says, no one can really be honest with themselves, because, and here's how you can tell: if you have someone criticize you, give you a criticism, and you're like, screw you, whatever. It's like, first of
Sure.
all, what you should think is, he's probably
Thank you.
right. Person's probably right. And if you didn't already know, then this is like good information. And if you did already
Right.
know, then it's like, cool, yeah, I already knew that about myself. Like, that's great. It's like, that's not what happens. People will resent this basically
Mhm.
forever, that someone else found out that you are not as good of a person as you wish you were. Basically,
Yeah.
it's like you're basically running up against your own imperfections all the time.
Yeah.
So, so he says, one of the things he says is talking about like the Reformation I mentioned earlier. He says he thinks this is one of the reasons why the Reformation kicks off is that in Christianity, of course, for him, Catholicism just is Christianity. He says in Christianity, the church demands that you confess your sins to one person, only one person, in private, and then when you confess it to him, he has to live and act as though you said nothing. Like, he can't tell anyone. It doesn't matter. The Pope
Right.
himself can say, "What did he say?" And you have to say, "I can't tell you."
Sealed.
Like, it's
Sealed.
totally
Confessional
sealed.
seal. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, so this is like the most gentle, most generous thing that you actually have to be honest with someone, but it is so private that it's like, it's safe. It's safe to be honest with someone. And he says, and this is still too hard. And that's why
For most people.
most people, and so that's why they're like, yeah, I don't want to have any part of that. We're not confessing. We're not doing that. Or you
Yeah.
can confess privately.
I don't have to admit anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything. Yeah, because if I did, then I have to like confront it myself, and it's just too painful. So I said, all right, so let's do a little thing here for the class. I said, let's take me for example. And so I started writing up on the board like criticisms about myself as a professor. So like,
Okay.
number one, bad at responding to emails. And everyone's like, well, no, like, it's fine. Like, guys, how many
Guys,
of
come
you
on.
how
We
many of
know.
you
Yeah.
emailed me at the beginning of the semester, weeks ago, and I never responded? And like a few people raise their hand, like, there you go.
See?
Right. Bad at emails. Right. Start writing it on the board, going down the list. I said, when I first started teaching, one of the history profs said that what he did was he would create these PowerPoints, and every year he would just change one slide at a time. And so over the course of the many years that he's been teaching, his PowerPoints have gotten better and better and better and better. And the whole time he only has to change like one or two things. He never changes more than 2 slides per semester. And I thought, when I heard this, lazy.
Lazy. That's right. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
and I said, now,
Coasting along. Yeah.
how much of this semester's material differed from last semester's material in this class? What do you guys think? And they're like,
0.
I don't know. It's like it is 98% the same. So we should put on the board what I said.
Lazy. Yeah.
Lazy. Right. And so
Yeah.
like we start filling it out, and you can tell the people in the class are like, this is weird. Like, we're
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
using
what's happening
this.
here?
Like, are we roasting the professor now? It's like, sure, because those things are all true. And if I was a good person, I wouldn't be afraid of the truth. I would just accept my own imperfections. There's some things I can work on. Can't work on everything. But even saying, well, I can't work on everything, that too is an imperfection, right? And so it's like, you got to like believe the truth about yourself. And it was really funny watching their faces, because they're just kind of. So anyway, today I got my my course evaluation back, where students get to write, what do you think about the professor? And a few of them from that class were like, he doesn't think so, but I thought he was a really good professor. It's like, no, I
thought he would argue with this, but
yeah, it's like, no, I don't think I'm a bad professor. I just know I'm very imperfect, and it's like, I gotta own up to that stuff, or otherwise, like, what are we doing?
Funny
here,
though, how they translated, or that one student anyway, translated imperfect to bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He missed the
That's
mark of
fascinating.
perfection. Yeah. Like, ooh, I hope you
Therefore,
don't.
you're a bad professor. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting. I wonder how much that actually translates in real life. It's like you find out you're not perfect, therefore, you're bad or
You're
whatever.
bad. Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I screwed up with one of the kids yesterday before. I just said something I shouldn't have and whatever, and then I beat myself up for it. For like a good 10 minutes. Like, oh, I'm just a bad parent. And
no,
then you're like, come on,
imperfect.
dude, you made a mistake. And just the best thing you can do is own up to it, which I did, and it's fine. But
Move on best
move
you
on,
can.
moveon.org. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Fun.org. Those are the good
moveon.org.
days. Those are the
Those
good
are
days.
good days. Yeah.
So anyway, it was fun. I'm kind of glad the semester's over now and I can rest a little bit. And then by the time fall rolls around, I'll be like, where are my students? Let's go. I'm
Yeah,
ready.
let's go.
Not
And
everyone gets that.
you're gonna have a new freshman coming up here. It's gonna be your own daughter. That's gonna
That's
be
right.
weird.
Yeah,
Is she gonna request your class, or is she gonna request an alternate
no,
professor?
there's no way she would take mine. So she's going into the honors college. So the main courses that I teach for freshmen are intro philosophy, which you don't have to have if you're in honors because they have a separate route that you get that stuff. But since she is a history major, she could have taken my logic class as a math credit, but she doesn't want to take logic for math credit. She's too good at math. She's trying to see what's the highest level of calculus she can test into, so she can take that as her one math class. It's like,
Wow,
yeah. So
she's great, man.
depending on, I'm kind of curious to see if she winds up doing anything with the math or if it's just something fun for her to, like a different way to tickle the brain but
Yeah,
continue with
sure.
the history more. Who
I'm
knows?
sure the more for her, I'm sure the more it occurs as a puzzle to
Yeah.
solve rather than a task to perform, the more likely she is to
Oh, it's
keep
fun
messing with
watching her do her homework. Sometimes she'll look at it and she'll go like, "Ooh, I don't know." Like,
it.
I'm like,
Oh, this is a good one. Yeah.
yeah, you're trying to trick me with this one,
I never felt that way about math. I'd look at here's all the questions that I have to do, and I'd be like,
Yeah,
okay, find X again.
it's right here.
Yeah.
Just circle it right
It's
there.
here it is.
I
Yeah,
found it.
find X.
Found it.
Found
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I didn't
Yep.
feel that way about math or math adjacent things until after I graduated high school.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah. But then after that, it was kind of, I guess, because there was no pressure to learn it. So then when I would
Then it was
hear,
interesting again.
yeah, when I hear an explanation, because I'd always wondered certain things I always wondered about, and you just couldn't memorize, like anything to the power of 0 is 1. It's like, why is that? Like that seems kind
Yeah.
of arbitrary, But
Is
then
one?
is 1. Yeah. So if you take any number to the
I
power of
didn't
0,
know that one.
it's 1. Yeah.
Okay.
So but once I had it explained, so I was like looking for an explanation. I found an explanation. I was like, oh, this is so satisfying. This is great. I loved that. But it was just never like I couldn't appreciate it when I was in high school because in high school I was just like, how do I get out of this? How do I
All
how do
right,
I figure
explain it to me. Well, I'm still trying to wrap my head around. Why would that be? So a power, if I remember right, so like 3 to the power of 3 is
It's 27.
actually 3 times 3 times 3, right? So
Mhm.
3 times 3, 9 times 3 is 27. Okay. So 3 to the power of 0 would be
1.
because
Okay, so here's the best explanation that I've heard, and I wish I could tell where this one came from originally. But
okay,
let's say you had a doubling machine. Okay,
okay,
this machine doubles things. So think of it as something multiplied by 2, and it doubles things every hour. So let's say you put in a pineapple and you set it for an hour. When you come back, there'll be 2 pineapples.
2 pineapples.
All right. If you put it in there and you set the timer for 2 hours, there's going to be 4 pineapples because first hour doubled it.
Doubled, then
Second
doubling
hour
it.
doubled it again. If you set it for 3 hours, you get 8 pineapples. So you take that number doubled times whatever, right? So let's say you put it in for 0 hours. You put the pineapple in, you take it right back out. How many pineapples do you have?
1.
1.
Yeah, but if I put 50 pineapples in, I still have 50 pineapples.
Right. You multiplied it by 1. So 2 times 2 to the power of 1, right, would be 2.
Is 2.
2 to the power of 2 would be 4, and so on. 2 to the power of 0 would be 1. You multiply the number by 1. You don't get 0 pineapples. You get 1 pineapple because that's how long it was in the doubling machine. Zero amount of times. So it's the same value.
But it's not the same value. It's only 1.
Yeah, the one
Is that what
pineapple.
you're
You
saying?
put the 1 pineapple in.
Oh, right. But if I start with 50, so 50 to the power of 0 is still 1, correct?
It's still 1.
Why?
Okay, so this is what I'm saying though. Like if you put a pineapple, and it could be anything, we'll just say pineapple. Put it into the doubling machine, okay?
Yeah.
And you set it 2 to the power of 1. It'll be twice as many pineapples, right? For that 1 hour. 2 doubling
1 to the power of 2.
2, the 2 hours would be 4 pineapples. 2 to the power of 3, 3 doublings, 8 pineapples. If you put it in for 0 hours, you put the pineapple in, you take the pineapple out, you would multiply your 1 pineapple by how many? How many times did it double? It doubled
None.
0 times. So that means
Right.
how many pineapples do you have? How many do you multiply it by?
Right.
1.
None.
No, you multiply your 1 no, if you multiply it by 0, then it's 0. You have 0 pineapples. It didn't eat your pineapple.
No, I get that. I'm just trying to figure out if you have more than 1 to start. Then
Yeah,
the
so if you put
analogy doesn't
50
make any sense.
so if you put 50 pineapples in and you turn the doubling machine to 1 hour, how many are in there when you take them out?
100.
100. What if you turn it to 0 hours? How many are in there?
I would think 50.
Right, because she wasn't in there for any amount of time. So you
Right.
multiply
But I thought you
your
said 50
number.
to the power of 0. I
No,
thought you said 50 to the power of 0 is
50 times 2 to the power of 0. 50 to the power of 2 is 2,500.
right. But 50 to the power of 0 is
No, 50 times 2 to the power of 0 is still 50.
Oh.
Because
Yeah,
anything times the power of 0 to the power of 0 is 1.
So 50 to the power of 0 would also be 1.
1.
Right, but I just don't understand why.
Okay.
Your analogy did not help me.
You know what?
Your
It works
analogy did
better
not
if
help
I could draw it out and you could see the pineapples, or like maybe if we were eating pineapple, then I think it'd be like, so this pineapple. No, I'm just kidding. Oh well. Anyway, math.
I see. I see. You used 2 to the power of however many hours were in the doubling machine.
That's the doubling machine.
That's what you were doing. So 2 to the power of 0 is 1, therefore 50. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out how 50 to the power of 0 is also 1.
But well, it would be. So if you had a thing that multiplied something by 50 per step, and you put it in there for 0 amount of time, it would be the same amount. So you'd have to multiply by 1. Makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. It's like the domino theory of stupidity.
It definitely makes sense if you don't think about it too hard. And that's or as I told my friend Larry one time, he was like, what? Aren't you thinking about what I'm saying? And I'm like, nah, I don't think about things I don't think about. And this is definitely one of those things.
Who does these days?
Yeah. The question is, do you think about the things you do think about? And that is probably up for debate,
How well do you think about them? I guess that's the
question. How well do you do that?
What's been occupying your mental space? Mine's been eaten up with finals and
with school,
some AI stuff.
Yeah, AI. I was gonna say I've been messing with some AI stuff.
What have you been
over
using?
Here? Just messing with some of the different models. I've been messing with trying to build out some agents, like AI agents.
Okay.
But it's harder than it sounds. So like if anybody's watching this and they're like, oh man, I got this great tool or whatever for building out the AI agents,
let us know.
Yeah, Gemini has some cool things. I just haven't. I just somebody just sent that to me the other day. Oh, check out Gemini, and Gemini does have a thing where it's like, oh, build AI agents right here. So like, I haven't had a
Mhm.
chance to mess with that yet, but that whole idea is really fascinating to me. I think
What
um,
what
so.
uh what workflow are you trying to automate right now?
So I'm just messing with like lead qualification. So
Okay.
like imagine we have an ad that's out there and it says it's attracting people to, let's say, take care of their Medicare, right?
Okay.
And so hey, you turn in 65, you're confused about Medicare, click here, whatever, right? And then so it asks some questions and creates a lead. Right now our agents get that lead and they call the person like, hey Russ, hey, this is Jim down at Medicare Center. I saw that you're interested in, looks like you're turning 65 next month. Happy birthday, and then
We
they
got
have
to
a
do something.
conversation.
Let's set it up.
They they qualify. Well, you need to do something because you filled out the form, and so
Right.
now we're gonna qualify you and see what your situation is, and then that's going to tell us what our options are, what county you live in, all this other kind of stuff, and then we have to get a scope of appointment signed that says you actually want to talk about this with me, and then we'll set up a meeting for, let's say, 2 days from now, and then we'll go through and actually write your policy. uh, that particular workflow, right? So imagine if you had an AI that would actually do all the intake for you. So you could build theoretically an AI that, it's easy to conceptualize like a chat bot, right? So let's say somebody submits the thing, and then on that same page a chatbot comes up and it's like, hey Russ, just got your information, and that you can imagine that scenario, uh,
Hmm.
you know and you have to upload and train this AI with all your different FAQs, and here are the data points that I definitely need in order to, right? And then here's a document that I need signed, right? And
Okay.
so an AI could handle all those different things, right? But you can also have it do it over the phone. Like an AI could actually place a call to somebody. Hey, Russ, this is Jim, Eric's AI assistant, and I noticed that you're interested in Medicare, and it looks like you're turning 65. Whatever, right?
You can have
And
and it seems like you're turning 65. And
it,
hello,
it's actually
time.
much better than you think. It's like, I mean, it's really good. So uh, yeah, so I just kind of like thinking through that part. That's a real kind of basic example. But I was all the different things I've experimented with. I must have downloaded like a dozen apps on here, just playing with stuff. One of
Mhm.
my favorite new apps is called M1. Did I show you this when I was at your house?
No.
So what this does is it basically hijacks your phone number. So like now when people call me, uh, instead of it ringing my phone, AT&T forwards the call to this service, right?
Okay.
This service has an app. It rings my phone. If I take the call, we have a conversation uh, as normal or whatever, and it will actually like listen to the call and take notes for me of
Okay.
what it doesn't record the call. But it listens and basically like takes notes, right? And
Okay.
so you and Russell talked about this and this and this and this, and then here are the to dos and follow ups and tasks that you committed to, right? And here are the things that Russell said he was going to do, and so maybe follow up with him at these times to, right? So
Okay.
it breaks all that down. Um, so if incoming calls, outgoing calls, all of that's like basically notated, unless I say, hey, don't record this call or whatever, right? And then it also, if I miss a call, it'll get handled by the AI, right? So like if you call me and instead of getting voicemail now, if I don't answer, it'll say, hi there, Eric can't take your call right now. I'm his AI. What were you hoping to connect with Eric about, right? And so you'll just say, well, actually, I was just calling to see when we could schedule our next podcast. It's been a while. Oh, well,
He's been
Eric has
ghosting
available
me.
on his, yeah, Eric has is available on his calendar these times or whatever, like you can, it'll literally like answer questions for you. So like, depending on the question you ask, right? I've had friends call it monkey with it, but like if you ask a question about my business or like anything that I wanted in the FAQs, it actually knows the answer and it can just tell you, right? So, oh, well, yeah, Eric has an insurance agency. He's been here for 20 years, whatever, right? He handles this and this and this for people. Um, if you want to schedule an appointment, it has my calendar, so it can like schedule an appointment with me. And if you're just like, hey, just tell them to call me back, it'll do that too, and it'll verify your phone number and everything. It's pretty slick. So what's funny about it is I get sales calls every now and then. Hey guys, can you go play downstairs? Being very loud. I get sales calls every now and then, and one of the sales calls I just got was from an AI.
What did you say?
I'm talking to Uncle Russell.
Yeah, but what did you say?
Can you go play somewhere else? Love you. There's this. This particular. If it's a voicemail, obviously it's recorded, right? And so you can listen to the actual recording because it's a voicemail. And so this AI and my AI basically are having a conversation. It's trying to pitch me something. It's like answering the questions. It is so bizarre to listen to that this entire thing, like it was like a 3 or 4 minute call, well, I mean, is Eric looking to, it's so funny, dude. If I played you the recording, you'd just be like, what? I played it for the guys in the office. A couple of days ago. I was like, dude, check this out. And they're just laughing. Like, I can't even believe this is that. Hey, that's where we're going. AI is talking to AIs, So,
well, it's getting. I mean, the AI to AI thing is starting to show up in some really strange places. So I don't know if you've just have done like a regular Google search lately.
No, because I use Brave search now. I use Google.
Well, I mean, you could use anything really.
Yeah.
I'll use a Google search here. I usually use DuckDuckGo.
Okay. I'll go to Google too. Let's see.
But let's say so. I'm gonna do a search here for. Let's say I was thinking about going to a restaurant I haven't been to before. So
okay.
One here close by, the Brick House Tavern and Tap. Have you ever been? That's a chain, I think. Have you ever been to one?
Actually, yeah, there was a Brick House here in Austin I used to go to. Yep.
Pretty decent. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay, so I'm getting some map results.
Right. So you're gonna have those. You're gonna get like the TripAdvisor stuff, Grubhub. So a lot of those are gonna be, more or less sponsored kind of stuff. But then you're gonna find, you're gonna start finding. I ran into like 10 of them in a row yesterday, where they were all these clearly AI written stuff.
Like content, you mean?
Yeah, like you'd see a site. Yeah. So yeah. So here, I'm gonna send you one. This one's on the first page here. Just here, check that out. Just read.
So I just did a search for Pete Rose, because they reinstated him posthumously.
Oh, okay.
Now this is giving me a bunch of news stuff, but it does have a little AI sideline here, overview.
No, so that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm finding is a lot of times now the search results themselves are websites that have been kind of massaged through SEO, and basically it's just slop. Like there's
crap, basically.
Yeah, and it's like someone will use like a WordPress something or other, and then you'll get these, or like this was a problem earlier with like product reviews. Like if you ever tried to be like, oh, what's the best brand of vacuum cleaner, and you'll get some site that basically scraped reviews from Amazon and then put them together with a lot of ads around everywhere, and then use a lot of SEO to try to get that to the top of the search results, so that but
there
they
was
were
a
not
company here in Austin that used to do that. What was it called? Something Discover Media or something. And that's literally all it was a content farm. It was a content farm churning out garbage basically, but high ranked SEO garbage back in the day before Penguin.
So
I just did a search in AI mode. What are Pope Leo's political views? But these are all actual links, though. I'm getting.
You're getting pretty good ones. It's kind of like
well, I don't know if they're any good, but
it ebbs and flows. So like you'll get stuff that you'll find like so this one is a search for forums only. It's like, what if I just want all? Yeah. Let me see if I can find some more here. But like
I actually just turned on like AI mode in Google. Is that what you're talking about? You have to turn on the AI mode?
No. What I'm saying is that more and more results are not real. They're like when you read them, you can tell that it was written by AI, and that they're like sometimes they have like nonsensical sentences in there, or they'll refer to things that are not.
I got you.
True. But it's like this is the right length. It's the right kind of the right images on there, and where before someone had to go through and actually create all of this stuff that would be SEO'd to the top. Now it's almost all automated, as far as I can tell. So it's just kind of a
gradually turning the internet into crap, basically.
But I think it's starting to happen more and more to where like this is just now kind of the norm. Trying to find something
speaking of that, it's so funny, here, put you on the spot. It's like, oh, I don't know. It's because it's like your car, it's not making that noise when the mechanic listens to it. I was watching some video somebody sent me the other day, and it was Trump trashing. I mean, I remember who he was talking about. He was just absolutely trashing him. I was like, dude, this is unbelievable. Like, he actually said this. And then you go, I went down the rabbit hole. And no, it was all AI. It was complete deep fake. But it was so good, dude. I mean, it was so good. Usually with a deep fake, you can tell his 6 finger will pop out, or something.
Yeah.
This was so on point. I was like, that is crazy good.
It's getting better and better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that thing I remember a few weeks ago, and I was convinced Joy Behar had gotten deported after trying to leave the country. But that kind of thing, I almost fell for it again, because there was a series of videos on YouTube of Joe Rogan basically suing somebody, and it was this whole. There were multiple sources, multiple videos. It was like all over the place, like just kind of peppered through there. And then probably the first 5 or 6 I didn't even see, like the way your mind works, right? By the time I noticed it, I'd probably already been fed it like a dozen times, before it registered as something. And then it was that same source that had the Joy Behar thing from a few weeks ago. I was like, oh man, this is another one of these deep fakes. This is crazy, but they're getting so good at it with the thumbnails and the images and the clickbait titles. Even reputable people are doing it, like where you're like, that caption was not really what this video is about. But you got me to watch your stuff here.
We're starting to see it at school too now, where half the emails you'll get from students are written by AI, and sometimes they're kind of obvious because of the way the formatting is done. Like right now, if you're using ChatGPT, for example, ChatGPT really likes those long dashes, the M dashes, which show.
I don't even know how to make those.
Well, they'll autocorrect it if you're in Word and you do space dash space and keep typing. It'll put an M dash there. But if you're texting someone, or if you're typing something in a chat prompt or something like that, those don't automatically appear. So that's hyphens. Something that there'd be regular hyphens, not the long one. Right, it also will bold things and do stuff. And I got a complaint note from a student that had it was full of stuff like that. It was someone put in their like strongly worded complaint letter must have been the prompt, because it was like, it was wild. They were claiming that I had been ghosting them for months, which I haven't even. It's like I just met them in March. Like there's not enough time to ghost someone for months. And then like that I had ignored 6 emails, and there was only 2 that I'd ever gotten from them the entire time that I've known them. There's all sorts of other stuff in there, just full of stuff like, this is bad, this is terrible.
This is one of your students?
One of my students. And then when I started interacting with them, responding like, hey, well, let's see if we can figure out what's going on. Then suddenly, like there was all of that stuff was gone, and it was like normal interactions with someone. And it was like, yeah, what they had done was they were like, hey, I'm upset about something. Let's use AI. I'm really mad. And so it generated this whoosh, this thing with all this stuff in it. I was talking to one of the administrators about this because I was like, is this happening? He said, oh, we're getting this stuff all the time. Someone will write like a complaint letter, but and it's again full of AI hallucinations of some sort, and they'll send it to everybody. They'll send it to the vice president. They'll send it to the president of the university. They'll send it to the board of trustees, whatever, with all this stuff in it, long, detailed. And half it's not even real. And she said that at one point she's responding to a student, and every response she's getting back are all AI generated as well.
You can't even think for yourself. Tell her she's full of crap.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think it's please respond to this email.
Oh,
I mean, it might have just been like completely like, hey, I don't know what to do. You tell me what to do, kind of thing. So it's really wild. So it's like, well, used to.
Did you ever watch Westworld? The show on HBO.
Yeah.
Did you see the final season?
Mm-mm.
So like
there
the
was
first
a long
couple
delay,
of
and I got into some other stuff, and I hadn't gone back.
Yeah. So the first couple of seasons are in the Westworld, and so the whole concept, if you're watching, you don't know, is basically this billionaire creates this resort that's populated with robots that look like human beings, but they're all scripted. So like you got the stage hand and the rodeo rider and the friendly prostitute and the bar, whatever, the bartender. But they basically have these narratives, and you as a visitor can get caught up in one of these scripts, right? So you show up and you're in the Western gear and everything, and you can be a villain, or you could be, the mayor or whatever, and a prospector. And well, anyway, eventually the robots, gain sentience and rebel and all that. That's what makes the show cool. But towards the end, the last season is a couple of the robots, they escape and they make it back to the real world, right? Which is not like the Matrix, where you have like somebody leaving the digital world and coming in, but ostensibly Westworld is a physical place. It's just hard to get to, right? And tightly controlled security. But these robots get out, and then they try to create a.
Hey, don't
AI.
not too many spoilers, okay?
The script is flipped somewhat. I'll just put it.
Okay, gotcha. I'll take that.
Are you gonna go watch it though?
I'll watch it. I've been wanting to. I just haven't yet. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay. I watched that years ago, so that's a great show.
Is it still available?
No. Oh, it's on HBO.
Well, sometimes they remove stuff.
Oh, why?
Yeah, they pulled
their own. What? Why?
Yeah. Well, you know how these things are. Sometimes they don't retain the rights to stuff, and so they must have lost the rights. I'll have to find some alternate means of getting it. I'm probably rent it or something.
Where can I stream Westworld now? Oh, it can be streamed for free on Tubi.
Tubby?
Yeah.
Oh, seasons 1 through 4. Well.
Show has been removed from HBO for some time. Oh, you can also purchase the individual episodes on Apple TV, Amazon Video.
Okay.
Interesting.
It looks
That's really weird, though, that HBO would remove their own content. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, interesting. So this is from
Yeah,
Polygon back
I'm
in
on
2023.
I'm on Reddit right now. This guy's go,
They
HBO's own show is not on HBO. What the
yeah,
F?
they lost Raised by Wolves and the Nevers as well. But they said that they're going to be licensed to different streaming service with a particular emphasis on the free ones like Roku or Freevee. Interesting. Westworld Nevers, Raised by Worlds, F Boy Island, Legendary, Finding Magic Mike, Head of the Class, and the Time Traveler's Wife.
That
Huh.
sounds like a bunch of crap.
Yeah, I know, right? Well,
The Time
Raised by
Traveler's Wife
Wolves
was interesting.
Raised by Wolves made a huge splash when that came
I
out.
don't know that story. I don't know that one.
Yeah, no, it was Ridley Scott, I think, had done it or something. Hold on. I watched a season or two of it. It was weird. Yeah, Ridley Scott. First episode is directed by him. He's executive producer. Then they made 2 seasons of it. And I think, yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
Raised
that
by
was kinda
Wolves.
interesting. It was a weird show, man. Really strange. Not
It's a
sure I
weird show,
recommend
man.
it, but it was
Well, you said Ridley Scott.
out there. What?
You said Ridley Scott. I'm in. You know.
He's kind of hit or miss. It's like half the stuff he does is amazing, and the other half, you got to wonder, like, why would anyone want to do this? Like, it just made no sense.
It's also on Tubi and
Yeah.
Roku channel.
Tubby.
Is it Tubi or
only problem
Tubi?
with-
I don't know. Whatever.
The only problem with
Tomato,
Tubby
tomato.
is the ads. It's
Nothing you
like,
can do about it either. Yeah.
like, there's no way to be like, hey, let me just pay $5 for a month to get like get the ads removed. It's like, no.
They're like, keep your $5.
Yeah,
We're getting billions.
it's more valuable for you to watch something about a company that you're going to write down so that you never purchase from them than it is for you to just give us the money.
Well, so what else is going on? What do you think about the new Pope? I haven't done enough research into this guy to know.
I don't know anything about him either. He I know his first American Pope.
His older brother's a little he's a big Trump fan.
Oh, really?
But I understand the Pope may not be, and so Pierce Morgan had his brother on, and they were talking about it. And he goes, "Yeah, so what's that like? Is that changing the family dynamic at all?" He goes, "Dude, it's just wild, man. My little brother is the Pope. It's like he was.
That
just
was weird
born,
enough that he became a priest, but now this.
Right, but now he's the Pope. It's like, gosh, how many Catholics are there? 1.5 billion, 2 billion
like
Catholics. I mean, that's such a mind-boggling. I mean, just imagine like Brian becomes Pope, right? And you're just like, does he still take your phone calls? Like, how does that work?
How do you get in contact with them if you need a blessing?
Right.
No,
Right.
it's I was trying to find out if this was like a continuity pick or if this was like a course correction pick. So sometimes you get those, but I wasn't even able to find out that. So
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on. But I haven't heard anyone that was angry about it, which is a good sign. I've heard plenty of tepid reactions, like, "Well, we'll see what happens," but I hadn't seen anyone like, "Oh no, like this is the downfall of Catholicism," kind of stuff. I haven't heard any of those things, so I assume that's good.
The downfall of Catholicism was Vatican II, man.
That's what I hear.
That's if you're hardcore. That's
all
right.
Math isn't in Latin anymore. Oh no.
Got no use for this.
By the way, that's one of those things that I'm not sure I understand what the outrage is about. So like the Latin Mass. So like if you look it up, it's not that long. It's like the Mass itself, it's not like it's hundreds of pages of text where you actually have to know Latin. Like if you just said, "Hey, look, here's what this sentence means, here's what this," like if you just had them side by side in a book, after a couple weeks you would know what they were saying. I mean, it's not like they're inventing new stuff to say every week. It's the same thing.
Right. Well, they're not reading. I think people misunderstand it too. Latin Mass. I mean, like if you go to Catholic Mass, you have all these different parts of the service. You know, you got your
Right.
readings, you got your responses, you got your prayers, you got your welcome in the sign of peace, you got all that stuff, right? The creed. What they're talking about though is just a mass itself, which is the turning the blood, the bread and water, bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ, right? And so that
Yeah.
was done in Latin. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, like I said, you're saying the same words every time. How hard is
It
it?
did. It did seem much more magical, you know, when it was in
Well,
Latin,
I guess
which
it's just like why
mysterious, and it is a mystery. So
it, but
theologically, a mystery.
it just doesn't seem like the kind of thing that everyone needs to flip out over, you know? Like if the whole service was so like you show up to church and it's like, hey, guess what? You're not gonna know anything
The
that's
whole thing's yeah.
the
You're not
whole
going to understand anything.
you know, like
Yeah.
it's just a different language, just sit down, shut up, you know, walk forward when it's your
Right.
turn. Then it's like okay,
Well,
that seems like a problem. Like, but
Yep.
yeah,
That's
anyway.
that's what I thought. But I got educated years ago. They're like, no, dude, just mass.
Just that the very end.
The conversion part. I'm like, oh, the magical moment when the things we don't understand happen. That's the part. Okay, got
That's
it.
the part. Yeah.
Got it.
Everything
That's
else
the
is
part.
fine.
Yeah,
Don't worry
that's
about
it.
it.
Well, I'm kind of curious. You know, the last pope, I was a fan. Not of everything, but in general, I liked his style. I liked his you know, I mean, not every point of view, not every pronouncement, but I mean, just I liked his kind of way of being. It was very cool. You know, I mean, it's neat to have an American. I think as an American, I'm not Catholic. I've never been affiliated, but it's just kind of cool. It's like, oh, the Pope's American. That's neat. You know,
It's never happened
um,
before.
never happened before. Yeah. We got judges getting thrown in prison. We could take that one. We got we we got the drug negotiation, the prices for drugs that's out there.
Oh yeah.
We got victory in the war on Houthis. We could discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got the China tariffs coming back down to earth. We got the Menendez brothers. You know, if you want to do that one.
I don't know about that. What happened with that?
So this was just out. So they were resentenced to life with parole.
Oh.
That was just 15 minutes ago.
Really?
Oh no, but that was yesterday. Lyle and Eric resentenced on Tuesday to life in prison with the possibility of parole, setting the stage for their possible release after more than 3 decades behind bars for
These are
killing
the
their
ones that
parents in the Beverly
killed their
Hills
parents.
mansion. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
What
But
changed to make it like
because of abuse and all this other kind of stuff, so they're kind of styling it as I don't know if you saw them. I mean, there's a Netflix or documentary stories that are out that basically the dad was apparently like a really bad guy and abused them and all this other kind of stuff, and so
oh wow.
they killed him. You know,
Okay. So they're thinking
so
there might be like an element of self-defense in there somehow, or
yeah. So here's the quote from the judge. This was an absolutely horrific crime, but as shocking as the crime was, I'm also shocked by the number of corrections officials who wrote letters on behalf of the brothers documenting support that clearly swayed my decision. I'm not suggesting they should be released. He said, that's not for me to decide, but I do believe they've done enough over the last 35 years to get that chance. So the brothers' futures are now in the hands of Governor Newsom and state parole board officials.
interesting. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So in reducing the sentences, the judge has allowed them to be immediately eligible for parole. So the attention will now go to the parole board. Cousin of the brothers who testified on Tuesday, Anna Maria Baralt, quote, I have been crying all day long. These are tears of joy for sure.
I had no idea. Interesting.
The brothers have never renounced their claim that they killed their parents because they feared their parents would kill them first. I mean, it's
how old were they when this happened? Do you know?
1989. Yeah, burst into the den of their Beverly Hills mansion, 89, and killed their parents with shotguns because they had endured years of sexual abuse from their father. They said they feared their parents would kill them to keep the abuse secret. At the time, 21 and 18.
21 and 18.
Right. And so now the one of them's in their 50s, the other one's late 40s. Now 2 middle-aged men, like our age, bro. The brothers appeared remotely at the resentencing from their prison, sitting stoically in blue jump shoots while witness after witness testified on their behalf. And Judge Jessic then said he would resentence the brother. But before he said what their new sentence would be, the brothers made statements. And so they took responsibility for their crimes, apologized to their relatives in the courtroom.
I just figure
Lyle spoke first, saying all the choices were his own, including the choice to reload, return to the den, run up to my mother and shoot her in the head. And he took responsibility, he said, for making a mockery of the criminal legal system by lying to the police and trying to solicit others to lie for him on the witness stand at the trial. He said at the time he was a young man, scared and filled with rage, who was too ashamed of the sexual abuse happening in his house to find someone and ask for help.
I just feel like if you're 18 and 21, you can leave. Like, why not leave instead of kill someone?
He was filled with rage.
No, I get
Terrified
that.
for his life.
But I mean, if you leave, are you worried that your parents are going to come hunt you down? And
Right.
I mean, it's like,
couldn't have because his dad was like a real important man, and was going to get out. He's worried he was going to. That was the story.
interesting. Huh?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I don't know. Patricide's
okay.
a tough one. Sorry,
Patricide's
I don't have
a
a
tough
hot.
one.
I don't have a
Can't
hot take for you.
Hot take on that one. Can't get behind it. Okay.
Sorry.
How about these judges getting tossed in the who's gal here?
Well, I have only a few words for that one, and that one is no one is above the law. As we all know.
Oh, you went
We
there.
all know if you break the law, then you can be prosecuted. In fact, maybe you
Dude.
deserve to be. And so
I have to tell you, man, some of these are so crazy. The one with what's her name? Who's the lady in New York? The one that brought the documents case.
Oh, Letitia James?
Letitia James.
Does that sound
She
right?
brings this document case saying, which even at the time I was like, well, it sounds like it's a crime. It's kind of some bullshit, but I mean, it is against the law technically. So I see what they're doing there. This is the 38 felonies case, or no,
Yeah.
is that Stormy Daniels, or that's this one? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which is the one where he inflated the business part, whatever that one was, right? He inflated the value of his businesses. And so the victimless crime, right? All the banks got paid back. Everybody, oh no, he's convicted. Okay. Because hey, it matters what you put on this piece of paper. You're lying to the
no one is above the law.
No one above the law. And then she gets indicted for falsifying mortgage records.
The same thing.
You can't make this up. I'm like, dude, this is the exact same thing. Like, this is not even. This is
so there's
crazy.
there's a fun little thing on right wing sort of circles where they'll say things like, if a Democrat accuses you of something, that's what they're doing, whatever it is.
Projection. It's projection.
It always is like, it's like, oh, so and so, they're blah blah blah. It's like, now we know what to look for. You're doing that, and it's kind of a joke. Everyone sort of laughs about it, but there's so many occasions like this where you're just kind of like, oh, another one. How charming. I hope she's prosecuted in the same way she prosecuted others.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
that's all.
exactly.
That's all you can hope for. There's a certain joy that I feel when a prosecutor is themselves prosecuted. Something about that just warms my anarchist heart, where it's like, yes, you too are a criminal, and it's wonderful to see the engine of justice aimed in your direction.
Okay, what do you think about? Let's do one from the other side. What about this latest thing where Trump is basically like, I don't care what the judge. He's not saying I don't care what the judges say. I'm not, but he has literally not done anything with the Supreme Court order that he was given to facilitate the return of this cat. And then when he was interviewed on Meet the Press last week or 2 weeks ago, do you think it's important that you follow the Constitution? I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll have to ask my attorneys about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, because
and you take on this.
so this
I do believe you swore an oath to uphold it.
yeah. Well, this all comes down and you and I know since we've been following politics for many years now that a lot of the discussion comes down to what exactly does the Constitution say and what does it mean? And when it says this, does it mean this or does it mean that? Because if it means this, then those people are right and so on. So if
The
it's
old, just to quote Bill Clinton, it depends on what the word means.
last great American philosopher. I did not. No, anyway. With that woman.
With that woman,
Miss Lewinsky.
Miss Lewinsky.
She got put through the ringer. Poor kid. Anyway, no, I don't know about that particular quote. As far or if you're talking about the thing where the Supreme Court said that they need to go get or they need to facilitate the release or
Right.
something
The
like that.
return.
The return. So that one, I don't know. Like this is if you remember. So this is going to be a bit of a stretch, but this is what it reminded me of when I saw it. So just bear with me for a second. So if you recall back during the 2020 election, a lot of there was these weird catch-22s that some legal groups found themselves in. So they were seeing the election rules being monkeyed with, and basically not they called it fortification in the Time article, but it was basically like find ways to make it easier to commit to have fraudulent votes, to have vote harvesting and so on. The unlimited drop boxes, the stuff that was going on, and so you'd have these groups that would sue the states where this was happening, swing states where this was happening, and they would say, "Hey, it's such and such," and they're like, "Well, no. So, no votes have been cast. You can't prove that any fraud is going. No fraud's happened, right? Because we haven't even started the election yet. It's like, well, it's going to happen. It's like, well, we can't make have an injunction about something that might happen in the future. Like, we're not going to do that. And so then,
well, that's the doctrine of prior restraint, man.
Right. So the election happens. There's all sorts of weird irregularities that people come in and are like, look, all the stuff happened. And you say, like, we can't overturn an election. I mean, that would be judicial overreach. Besides, it's like, how have you even been harmed by it? It's like, well, we're harmed by the fact that this person is, going to destroy the country. Whatever. Like, you don't have any standing for that. So it's like it's either too early to do the lawsuit or too late, but never the right time. And so it's just kind of like a bit of a mess, right? As far as like trying to get what you want done. So keeping that in mind, that's what it reminded me of, because then it was with this.
Well, but also they didn't have any evidence of any fraud being committed. But anyway, go ahead.
Irregularities, statistical
nothing that they could present in court as evidence anyway.
Right. No, and right. Evidence, again, what is allowed as evidence or not is to a judge's discretion, and that's also interesting.
And up to the rules of evidence, but
yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, those any number of things can happen there, depending on what the judge wants. So in this case, it's like, okay, we've got these people. You're not allowed to deport them, and it's like, well, why not? We haven't deported anybody yet. Why are you complaining at us for, like, you can't tell us not to deport people that we haven't even deported. We haven't even said we want to. Nothing's happened. And so then you deport them instantly, right? Whoosh, they're gone. They're in the air before anyone even knows about it. And so then it's like, hey, you need to bring it back. Like, well, they're not a U.S. citizen.
They're outside of our airspace.
They're outside of our. Well, they're not, and they're not even U.S. citizens. Like, it's either too early or too late.
The judge,
but never the right time.
The judge actually gave the order. The judge gave the order in the courtroom, and then they said, "Well, it's not a legitimate order because it wasn't in writing." And so by the time that the order came out in writing, then they were like, "Oh, it's too late because they're out of
too late." Sorry, yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
I get. Look, I mean, in general, it's like, to me, it's like sometimes we get bogged down in the intricacies here of like this or that or whatever. In general, the vast majority of people in the country are down with getting rid of these, gang members and criminals that shouldn't be here, that are
Sure.
here illegally. Like that's pretty overwhelming response support for that. I'm just with these individual cases where as they continue to get overturned and he continues to get pressure, like they had to release the one student that they freaking whisked up in the middle of the street for writing an op-ed. I think at this point, do you feel confident saying or comfortable saying like, okay, yeah, they're not as free speechy as they advertise. Like they are every bit as cancel culture and anti speech we find objectionable as the last crowd and then some? Like, are you comfortable, saying that, or you still think? Because I thought, dude, one of the biggest things that I was like down on Democrats and have been down on Democrats for a while has been this, anti-free speech, like only approved speech, type stuff, is just so over the top. But I mean, all the language was better in the campaign, but I'd say the implementation since they've been in office, I mean, I've never seen. I mean, now you got Stephen Miller saying that they're even going to suspend habeas corpus for people, like just throwing it out, like, well, yeah, we may do that. It's there's such a lack of like any kind of deference to any of the existing legal framework that we,
So a couple
from my perspective,
so a couple of things on that. So one is, I think that what you saw under the last regime, kind of the Obama / Biden regime, a lot of the same people, so it's kind of like some continuity there. Was kind of, it was a there was a background algorithmic style suppression going on. So it's not like you would walk down the street and someone would scoop you up for saying the wrong thing, but like, well, you could find yourself debanked because, or you would no longer be able to use credit processing systems at all, or you would get your account shadow banned, or you would have like digital traces put on you. And so it's all sort of in the background. I mean, even our discussion now would have been in many ways, we probably would have broken all sorts of terms of service for some of the things that we bring up, even though we don't bring it up as like, well, march in the streets, kind of thing. We're just like, this could happen. This could happen. That would have been enough just a few years ago. So I think in that case, we saw the end of that.
Which is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Which is a good thing. I'm all about it.
Yeah. I think though that you do have,
and now.
Yeah. So agreeing with you for sure. I mean, and I think a lot of it is like very strangely organized around certain foreign policy objectives. So it's like, I can sit here and say like taxation is theft. Everyone's like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'm not sure that women should be allowed to vote. Oh, okay. That's fascinating. But it's like, if you criticize some foreign policy issues, then it's like, I'm not sure you're a real American.
Dude,
kind of
it's
thing.
Crazy.
And
yeah,
it's very, very extreme. In fact, it's extreme enough that I don't even want to say what those foreign policy initiatives are.
I was just going to say something, and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to get delisted.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? So the same kind of deal where before I might have said like, well, certain medical treatments that we don't really want to talk about. Now I can say, well, certain foreign policy objectives, So in a way, it's kind of like, oh, here we go again, but this one is, I think, strange enough, and I think you see some tide turning on it that I don't think that will last. But it's not going to be because from within the administration they decide, hey, wait, what are we doing? It'll be because of outside pressure, and that's unfortunate. Yeah. That's unfortunate, but I think that's what's going to happen. As far as the other stuff about like judicial deference and everything, I kind of feel like at this point, we've found ourselves in a really weird situation where where Article 2 and Article 3 powers are in a way sort of at war with each other. And I don't mean that from like the Supreme Court. But have you noticed how little Congress has been in the news?
Well, yeah. It's
really on this big beautiful bill right now.
The one big beautiful bill.
What one of the Democrat congressmen put forward a piece of legislation to officially authorize Trump's medical. I'm sorry, the medicine cost. I can't remember the name of the thing, the executive order that he signed to reduce the price of medicine.
To negotiate the Medicare bills, yeah.
Yeah, but it was set at most favored nation.
Yeah.
So Democrat said, like, great, that's what we want to. Let's. So I mean, they introduced it in Congress, so we'll see what version of that gets in there. But it's like you don't really see stuff like, oh my gosh, Congress and the presidency, they're so mad at each other. But you do see this with the Supreme Court, not Supreme Court, but the judicial system. And I think it's a combination of like these universal injunctions and venue shopping. And I think I mean, we saw some of this too when Biden was president, where it's like, we'll find us a judge, we'll file it in.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't remember it being as aggressive as it is under Trump. But I think at this point, it's kind of like the Trump administration sees the judiciary as like a hostile partner. That it's like if you're in the middle of a divorce and it's like, well, we're still technically married, but I'm going to spend money out of the account before they can get to it. And
right,
right. Because we're not actually on the same team anymore.
Right.
Right. And it's that kind of thing that I think is what we're seeing here. So when you see stuff like that, it's like, well, it wasn't in writing. It's like, oh, now it is in writing. Like, oh, now it's too late. It's like, I actually got the dog out of the divorce decree. You did it. I win, you lose. Like, it's that kind of stuff.
So I don't. Okay, so I don't have. I guess where my concerns, if I have any, are not around that. Like, that is. Dude, both sides do that. That's gamesmanship. I mean, they're taking it to an extreme here, but
it's starting to become kind of hilarious. Where it's like,
well, because you have, and I think the flip side is you have some judges that are also taking it to the extreme in terms of like, no, you can't
do anything.
You can't do, you can't. You're right, and it's like, dude, if they, so I think it, I was talking with somebody the other day, and we were just I was like, look, if you get into a conflict with somebody, just in general, and they start using, there's escalation. There's escalation in every conflict, right? So first we start throwing rocks insults at each other, then rocks, right? Then somebody pulls out a knife, then somebody else pulls out a gun, and somebody else gets a machine gun, and somebody else rolls in with a tank, right? So like, ultimately, like this, we've seen this between Congress, I think, and the executive branch, Article 1 and 2 powers during certainly the end of the Obama administration and the Trump administration, vice versa, right? The weaponization of committees, the weaponization of hearings, the weaponization finally of impeachment itself. The literally the putting on of show trials. I mean, like it, blizzards of subpoenas, giving the middle fingers back to the subpoenas, like refusing to show up and testify. Oh, contempt of Congress. I don't care. I have contempt for you too, right? And it's like this back and forth, which I'm not seeing a lot of that right now, maybe because Democrats don't have any leverage in either of the two houses, but I mean, potentially, but I'm just hearing less and less of that from that side of things, right? And then, but in the judicial, you do see that ramping up big time. Like, so you see these judges that are basically like, hey, we're part of the resistance, we got to whatever. And then unfortunately, the response from the administration is, hey, we're just going to ignore, like, the Supreme Court ruling was so clear. Like, you screwed up with this one guy. There was an order not to deport to El Salvador. You violated that. You need to facilitate his return. I mean, it's super. You just go read it. It's very clear, right?
And he says, "Well, I'm facilitating it. As soon as they release him, I'll bring him back."
Well, no, but see, Miller is basically, if you saw one of the press avails that they had, It wasn't even on that topic, but that came up, and Miller was in the White House, and and Trump goes, "Oh yeah, our people are looking at that," and Miller goes, "Oh no, we won on that, sir. We're good." And
Mhm.
like, because they're basically redefining the word facilitate to mean not facilitate. Like
Well,
do nothing.
no. I mean, we'll
Yeah,
send a
yeah.
plane whenever they want to. I mean, he's
Whenever,
being
yeah, whenever
held.
they want to release it, it's like,
He's
have you called?
a citizen
But
of
he
their
admitted,
country, held in their
he
jail.
admitted he admitted on Meet the Press, like admitted, like, oh yeah, because she goes, well, certainly you could just pick up the phone and ask him to return him, and he would, wouldn't he? I mean, you're saying you can't, he would not do what you asked. Oh, of course he would do what I asked, but but boom, there you go. So now you said that you could pick up the phone and ask for him to be released, and he would be released. So then why haven't you made that phone call? And finally, now the judges are coming out. Now the court's saying, hey, we want to see accountability. What actions have you actually taken here? And I mean, if it comes out now, we've done, bupkis because we don't care what you say. At
Mhm.
some point, it's like, I don't know.
Well, and I think that's the nature of, and again, just kind of thinking of it as like a marriage in trouble. Um, at some point, when you're dealing with a truly hostile partner, then it's your calculation becomes less about what would be good for us, or how can we have more harmony or whatever, and you start thinking about like, what can I get away with? What is it that
Well,
I can do that they
I,
can't stop me from doing?
I look, I agree. Both political parties have been in that space for a while. And you definitely saw, like, I was talking to
Well,
somebody the other day, like, dude, like they,
I don't even
huh?
think it's the political parties. I think it's the structure. Like we haven't gotten something. So what I think needs to happen, and unfortunately this is going to be the case. I think you're going to actually have the Supreme Court is going to need to have very specific guidelines on when a universal injunction can be put in place. And I think until that happens, you're just going to have a never-ending supply of, no matter what this person does, we'll find some judge somewhere. Like, that's the thing, is you don't even need to win an election for it. You could have all the branches. I mean, this happened, remember, under Biden. He had both houses of Congress and the presidency, and you still had, well, we'll find some judge that'll be like, no, no, no,
the,
and
the, the whole thing.
universally do an injunction on it.
The,
So
the problem is that you have, like, so I was having this conversation about this Project 2025 stuff that they've been rolling out, basically, not labeled as such, but definitely from that box, right? So it's like, look, none of this is actually, in fact, all of this is legal. Like that's what every point in there. Like if you read through it, like, to me, the prescriptive elements of it are kind of disturbing. But it's like, okay, there's nothing about this that's actually illegal. It's just, we're going to interpret this to mean this. We're going to interpret this to mean this. We're using the actual framework of the things that are there, and we're just basically pushing the interpretation or the deliverable of that thing to, like, way beyond what historically has been done, historically the understanding has been, or even where people feel comfortable.
yeah,
um, but there's nothing in here that says we can't do that, so we're going to do it, right? Or, hey,
yeah,
with this law that was written, back here, has these words, kind of like how they prosecuted the J6 people, right? It's like, hey, here's a law, we can use this to prosecute them. Same
yep.
thing. Now they're doing the exact same thing. So they're like, okay, well, that's the way we're going to do it. And they're basically like, I mean, but they're taking it to, I mean, there's, I don't know. I mean, you would agree, this is the biggest expansion of executive power, uh, certainly that I've seen in my lifetime. I don't know, maybe before, maybe
I don't
FDR, but
I don't know.
but
Yeah, I think FDR or Wilson might have been more so.
more. Okay,
But
so
those were with congressional approval, where this one is EOs.
it's just not. Yeah, it's just EOs.
Yeah.
I mean, like so you have a. I
And
mean,
that's different.
I mean,
That's
I
different.
had an issue with Obama's EOs. I had an issue with Bush's EOs. Before that, I wasn't really paying attention, but, like, I certainly have an issue with I mean, this is ridiculous. It's like, you're governing like a monarch, basically, and this whole idea that because I can declare an emergency, now all of a sudden I have all these powers. Yeah,
That's what's in the law.
that's in the law. But dude, there was the reason we've never been in this kind of, like, somebody, we were talking about tariffs the other day. And I was like, well, this can you remember when's the last time we had this kind of whiplash? I mean, no president has ever done something like this type of thing, because they don't have the power actually to do that. It's Congress that is the one that has the ability to tax, not the president. But we're just going to declare emergency, and so now we have all these emergency powers, and so now I woke up in a bad mood, and so this is going to happen, and it's the whole reason that our system of finance, business, the chassis of the reserve currency, all that stuff is the way it is because of the certainty and predictability of our markets, and basically that's out the window now. So like, as long as his emergency powers are not curtailed, right? But I mean, as long as he's got Congress behind him, I don't see that really happening. There's no. They had this effort to kind of curtail the tariff powers, but it was pushed back at the end. So like, I don't. Bottom line is like, okay, well, as somebody who I like the checks and balances. I like divided government. I think a lot of the theory that makes up the way our country should operate is actually sound political theory. And so therefore, I don't like a lot of these things. The counterpoint to that, to my point of view, has always been like, bro, they're out here. Your opponents are out here doing this with, machine guns already. Like, if you don't fight back, and then you lose. They're already doing what you don't like. And so it's like, okay, I mean, so what you just said earlier about the whole marriage thing, right? You're like, hey, well, yeah, this is the zone that we're in, and okay, but anybody that would tell you that, okay, do you want to save your marriage, or do you want to, get divorced? Because yeah, down that way is divorce. There's no coming back from raiding the checking account. I had that happen to a buddy of mine. Like, literally just go to the checking account. It's like, hey, it's a joint account. All the money's gone. There's no coming back from that. Like, that's not you can't even make up a story that yeah.
At that point, it's like you retaliate by selling off the other person's things, and then
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, we'll just put the clothes in the fireplace. So like, so it's like, okay, well, at some point, where do the cooler heads prevail? It's like, okay, well, if I, take this back to Cuban Missile Crisis, for example, it's like, well, dude, what's predictable is this. So we have to do that because blah, blah, blah. And then if you just follow that out, well, now we end up in
we're launching
exchange and an incinerated planet. Nobody's here, right? So at some point, somebody has to go, this isn't right. We got to like get back on track somewhere,
Well, I think that will happen. It's just going to take a lot longer. It's nowhere near bad enough for that to happen. Because the solution to that is to roll back a lot of those emergency powers. You'd have to have Congress override a presidential veto, because no president that I'm aware of. I mean,
why would he give it?
You'd have to be
sure.
You'd have to be George Washington, right? Who they're like, will you be king? And he's like, no, I'm
retired. Well, he claims he's greater than George Washington. So here's your chance to prove it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're like the true American Cincinnatus. You sign the thing limiting your own power. No one's ever going to do that. So it's going to take the American people overwhelmingly voting for their representatives to do that, or it's going to take some kind of constitutional convention that creates a series of amendments that prevent that kind of stuff from happening in the future. Who knows? Right. But the thing is that the situation is nowhere near bad enough for that. And just as an example, if you take a look, you say, the tariffs, oh my gosh, this is going crazy. Everything's okay. Who's experiencing the, oh my gosh, everything's going crazy? Unemployment isn't down. Stock market dipped. It's back up. Like if you're sitting here going like, oh, I did like what Dad said, and buy the dip, then you're sitting real pretty.
Oh yeah, I personally, I have no objections.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
But that's like saying, during Hitler rounding up the Jews or whatever. It's like, well, I'm not Jewish. So
well, no. But that's the thing. You don't. But also, like, as far as America, not individuals, and this is something that was always kind of interesting during Trump's first term. NPR would do this thing. It was so funny. He would do something, whatever it is, and they would go look over the country and find somebody that hurt.
Right.
Like, no matter what it is. Like it could be this thing where it's like in this case, like the drug prices are dropping. We're like we're gonna have save Americans tons of money on drugs, and they're gonna go find somebody that's a farm rep salesman who now has lost his job and are like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna. And you're like, see, this is what's happening in Trump's America. People are just being like about out of work, and it's like
the farmer salespeople can't make their quotas.
They can't make their quota anymore, and like what's going to happen, and we just wonder about the state of
Tiny Tim.
medicine. Yeah, well, and that's NPR was masterful at doing that from 2016 to 2020. But so if you look at America as a whole, systemically, population wide, these tariff whiplash hasn't hurt America as a whole. So what you're going to have to see in order to have an emergency power like this wound down is for it to blow up in everybody's face in such a way that like, oh, this triggers, a recession or something. And then you have some version of like the Dodd-Frank bill in 2008 would be a classic example of this. But then, people forget, and a lot of those protections got undone. And so now, now banks are more like a Wild West, and they will be, right? And it's like when I tell people like, hey, look, American currency at some point is going to be worthless. We're going to lose our dollar reserve status. It's like, well, when? It's like, well, I don't know. But it'll happen. And it's like, yeah.
Until then, I can still buy beer with it though. So
exactly. And so the same thing. Like when it comes to this stuff, like, well, when will the emergency power go? Well, when it affects the normies enough to where they're like, we don't want this anymore.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And to your point, I think some of this stuff, like, the whole tariff conversation, I think is interesting because, like, I've been pro tariff and pro not protectionism, but like more protection.
Some protection.
Yeah.
Right now, before we had zero.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So
zero.
Like to me, it's like I don't understand if you're a liberal and you're pro worker, like how in the world would you not be for, some industry protection? Number one.
Right.
Number two, immigration. If you're pro worker and pro high wages for workers, how would you not? Like, dude, that's the number one thing you do is control who is in the workforce, right? So like, no, you can't come in here without papers. Forget even the immigration side of things. It's like, okay, well, we're dealing with the demand side. You got people from other countries that want, to come here to work because of all the great opportunity. What's on the supply side? The supply side are the companies in America that hire people without good paperwork, or even help facilitate bad paperwork. It's like, dude, well, you could have a whole enforcement regimen on, and notice they haven't done anything on that. No administration has touched that because the business community wants slave labor, cheap labor. Slave labor, whatever you want to call it. I mean, they want to exploit people.
Oh, I'll call it slave labor.
Okay, so it's like, all right. So I think it's amazing that you had a Republican president who actually pushed through not only the policy through, but stayed with the pain of it, through the pain of it, to actually drive the concessions that we're seeing now. And it's like, it's interesting to read these reporting. It's like, oh, Trump caved on this and that. It's like, well, that's an interesting cave. Yes, he lowered the tariffs, but notice we still have a 30% on China, and they're paying, and we've got ours down to 10 on their side.
Yeah.
And then you look at England, and it's like you just opened up. We weren't open market to the British before. They were part of the EU. Well, now they got their British trade deal in. We still have a 10% floor on our tariffs, and now you got, I don't know did you watch the speech he made in Saudi Arabia yesterday?
Pieces of it.
I recommend you watch that. I think everybody should watch that speech because it is, I think, one of the best foreign policy speeches I've seen in a long time. Like and you could agree, disagree. I agree with some of it and disagree with some of it, but he made a very solid presentation of his theory. This is my world theory, basically. I don't know what you want to call it, the theory of the case, right? Here's how I see things. And one of the things I really liked about it, and I think, dude, it's so this is such a liberal talking point that I've been saying since, I mean, certainly since we went into Iraq, but I think even before that, that look, we as Americans have, through our foreign policy objectives or initiatives, we'll just call them initiatives, since objectives I think is being too generous, but through our foreign policy initiative, have created a lot of the problems around the world. Like a lot of these problems, not all of them, but a lot of these problems are due to our interference and, violating the prime directive, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
And that term blowback, right? What we're experiencing is blowback to a lot of our well-intentioned ideas. And so the number one thing that pisses off the rest of the world vis-a-vis us is our moralizing and going around saying, hey, you're violating human rights, you're da-da-da, you need to, whatever, the waggy finger and all this stuff. And he basically was like, look, that era is over, okay? Mm-hmm. We're not going to be going around lecturing, because the whole thing with Saudi Arabia was that like Biden wouldn't have a summit with them. The position of the administration has been, look, we're not going to do business and have all this stuff until you recognize the right of Israel to exist, is basically which is just a poison pill. Like they're not going to do that. It doesn't mean they won't allow Israel to exist. It doesn't matter, but it's almost like this one China policy and this is the analogy I use all the time.
You can't call it Taiwan. It's Chinese Taipei.
Right. Exactly. It's like, well, we're just not.
You have to say that first before we talk to you.
We're not going to take a position, right? Like they know we're going to defend Taiwan, but we're not going to come out and say that. Yeah. And Taiwan knows that they can't, but they can't. We tell them, like, you can't go out here and say screw you, China, right? Because that's not we got to. Here's the game, and we're all going to play the game. And the thing is the game over there is we're not going to admit that Israel has a right to exist, and we're also not going to fund any attacks against it. And we're not going to like get upset with them, and we're also going to trade with them, and we're also going to whatever else. But we still have this article of faith that says that is the Palestinian homeland or whatever. Yeah. Fine, right? Yeah. Fine, whatever. Let's do business, right? And that's basically what he's saying. They open this up, which I think they're on the verge of doing. I mean, that's going to be just more economic opportunity for us. And it's like, basically that's his whole point of view, is like, look, at the end of the day, like, I want what's best for us. Do I want what's best for the world? Of course, because we all share the same planet. And at the end of the day, I'm the president of America. We're going to do what's right for Americans first. Like, I'm not just going to come in here and like sideline America's interest to try to get some deal with you, among you guys that we're not even going to benefit from, which is really refreshing as a taxpayer, I think, to most people to hear that. Right. And he's basically like, look, we're not going to agree on stuff. We're going to do business with countries that we may not like the way they do everything. Guess what? Most people don't like the way we do everything either. It doesn't preclude us from buying bananas, and you know what I mean? Like, let's just move on. .org, right? And so I like to say that, move on.
We can still be bound in the sacred bonds of commerce.
And you notice, like they did the mineral deal with Ukraine, and it's like people are like, before the deal was done, in the press, it's all, he's holding them over a barrel, basically blackmailing them, blah 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 blah, and da-da-da. This isn't a real security guarantee, and you're right, it's not a real security guarantee, but it is way more effective than a real security guarantee, because you already see like some of the leverage points. It's like that are already showing up. So like, to me, it's like, okay, do I like the way these things are being done? No. Do I like the results of some of these things? Of course, right? Mm-hmm. And so, okay, but then there's some things that I'm like, okay, well, the way that you're doing this is actually like, it undermines our system. And that's where I'm like, kind of like, well, okay, if it's a temporary thing, hey, we've had temporary things before that we've survived that are far worse. I just, to me, it's like, if you don't call it out and point it out and say, look, this is not right, then it doesn't actually change. And I think a lot of the things that, especially on the freedom of speech, especially on that's the biggest one. You see some good effects of it being because of the pressure that's being brought. So I think, to me, it doesn't hurt to say, okay, you went too far here. Let's back it up.
Mm.
So you're awful quiet over there. Yes, I'm done.
No, I need to watch the speech. It sounds like. I mean, I think this is one of those where we'll know. I had some people ask me about the tariff stuff. I was like, well, we'll know we'll know probably by the midterms if it worked or if it didn't. And it may turn out that we're going to find out a little earlier than that with some of these things. If we can get, I don't know. I've always felt like, and this is something that we've gone kind of in circles with, our parents and our little brother a little bit. Like, well, how much moral authority does the United States have? And they had always been on the side of like, well, a lot, and then I've always been on the side of like none, and then I think maybe we might be entering into an era where it's like it doesn't matter because that's not what we're trying to export as our moral authority anymore. We're trying to export something else, and
Well,
maybe that's okay. Maybe that's better.
Well, I don't see under Bush, Bush 2, it was all about exporting democracy, right? And it's like, dude, this
Mhm.
is democracy is it's like the American dream is owning your own home, and
Right.
the key to our values spreading across the country is democracy. It's like, bro, of course it's not. Like, I mean, give me a break, of course it's not. It's exporting. It's exporting leaders of these other countries that are going to help me get what I want. Not freely elected people that are going to do the opposite of what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I think this Medicare thing with the drugs is probably one of my. I mean, maybe we can tie it up on this one. This is, to me, the best thing I've seen in certainly from the insurance side of things, from the healthcare side of things. I mean, healthcare in this country has been like my stalking horse, like politically, for a long time. It was one of the biggest things that drove me left. From my from the way that we grew up. Growing up like conservative Christian, right wing Rush Limbaugh, teenagers or whatever. And what drove me left, like more than anything else, was healthcare, and just the abysmal state of healthcare and how we manage it. And to me, the if you look at all the things the government spends money on, I mean, the top three: Medicare, defense, and Social Security, in that order.
Mhm.
And it's like, or is it Medicare, Social Security, and defense? Whatever. Medicare is number one.
Yeah.
Period. And one of the biggest costs of Medicare, there's two things that drive the cost. Number one is the price of drugs, and number two is the cost of treatment, the cost of care. Cost of care gets driven up same way that university costs, tuition costs go up, because they're opaque, and because we're going to just continue to provide you grants and whatever to compensate for the increasing rising costs. And so there's no incentive for anybody in the system to lower tuition. Like, why would we do that?
It's like an endless pool of money we can draw from.
Endless pool of it's a racket, an endless pool of money. Not saying that your job and your industry is a racket, but the way that functions is a racket. Tuition costs, and so same thing, but to a much greater scale in the healthcare system is the cost of drugs. And the fact that Medicare, for so many years, I mean, well, shoot, Medicare was founded in the 1930s. So we're coming up on almost 100 years here in about 10 years, 90 years of Medicare. And they've been prohibited from negotiating drug prices. So whatever the drug companies say this costs, that's what Medicare has to pay.
But that's the thing is, I think they're prohibited by statute. I don't think the president has the authority to do the.
So it's not by statute. It's by the CMS rules, which live in HHS under the executive branch.
Pretty sure. So I need to look this up, but I thought that was because Biden tried to do this too, but Congress wouldn't give him the authorization.
So that right.
So if he
And
could do it without the authorization, why ask Congress?
emergency powers, man.
It's
Again, like the whole thing, the reason that see, so this is the thing, right? So like people say that with immigration,
Mhm.
it's a great point. With immigration, a lot of the stuff that Trump is doing, right, would not be legal. It has to go through a congressional process, except for the fact that he declared a national emergency at the border and declared that we were under invasion. So because we're under invasion and there's a national emergency, and invasion is an act of war, and so therefore we can also interpret all these war powers, et cetera. Now he has the authority to do a lot of these things, Alien Enemies Act, all these other things. You can't use those except in time of war or invasion. And so because he
Okay.
declared an invasion, which Biden had never done, because I mean, technically that's not an invasion. Like that is a self-inflicted wound. There is no foreign power that is trying to invade America, right? We did this to ourselves. You left the door open. It's like the insurance guy comes and tells you, well, somebody stole your car, but did you lock the door? No, well, my keys were in the car and they drove off with
It was running. It was
it
running.
was
Someone
running,
just
whatever. But
walked in. Yeah, drove off.
yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, okay, well, so then how are we gonna, make this right? You did this to yourself.
Yeah.
That would be the argument that most people would make, which is why they were saying that they needed new legislation to take care of the immigration situation. Because, and frankly, like the only reason he's even able to get away with the emergency stuff is because he has control of Congress. Because otherwise, the Congress would just shoot it down and say, no, there's no, it's not invasion. No, this doesn't apply here. And just like they were going to do on tariffs here a minute ago, right? There is no, he can't do the tariffs the way he's doing it without the emergency, right?
Mhm.
And so they're declaring an emergency shortage of medicine. This is why,
Oh.
and so, and that's where a lot of these things. It's like, well, bro, like to what extent? And that's where just systemically, structurally, right? So like,
That's
forget
interesting.
what side you're on or anything else, right? Just zoom out. Okay, well, so are we going to perpetually live in a state of emergency on paper so that we can actually do the things that need to be done? So that basically we can have an authoritarian, because dude, if a Democrat was in office doing a bunch of Democrat priorities,
Because
right?
of an emergency.
Because of an emergency. Well, think about
Yeah.
it. So if
Oh no, the right would be absolutely outraged. They would
but
be
also
flipping their
well,
lids. It would be so bad.
but also, think about this. Like, to me, it's highly probable. It's not even just a possibility, but highly probable. Okay, that a future Democrat president could declare an emergency, let's say, of white supremacists. Right? I mean, the FBI had already declared number one safety concern in America: white supremacy, the rise of white supremacy, right? And Christian nationalism. Well, if they declare that an emergency, and people who espouse Christian nationalism to actually be enemies of the Constitution, right? Because they don't see the Constitution as their authority; they see the Bible as their authority, whatever, right?
You can start arresting pastors if you wanted. Yeah,
Absolutely, shutting down churches, all kinds of other things, because it's in the
emergency.
public interest and it's an emergency,
Yeah.
and we're under threat, and our
No,
Constitution's in danger.
I think you have to assume, and this is just like playbook stuff that I've talked about before. Like, you just have to assume that whatever new thing that Trump does, the next Democrat president will do, but in the opposite direction.
Well, so therefore, right? So 100%. So like, therefore, like how people on Team Trump now, and I don't mean like the administration, dude. The people in the administration, I mean, he's giving them a green light to do all this stuff. Of course, they're going to do it.
Sure.
But I'm talking about like their enablers in Congress, in the media, et cetera. How they don't see that is, dude, that's coming back to you. Like all these things that you're pushing the envelope on, you think you're so smart right now. It could be in as little as 3 years.
Eric, look, man, we got to end on this because I got to go eat dinner with a friend of mine. But look, you're thinking of this all wrong. You're thinking of it like
I'm sure I am.
But you're thinking of it like a statesman. It's like if you're going to a company and you're like, hey, this decision you're making is going to really be bad in 10 years. And they're like, 10 years? Like, I'm just trying to get to the next quarter. Like,
You gotta make payroll, bro.
I got to make payroll. I got to look good enough to get my bonuses. And it's like, yeah, but you're really going to tank the company in 10 years. Like, I don't even know if I'll be here. Like, what are you talking about? That's
I get
for
run
them
over
to
by a
figure
bus
out.
next week, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got an earnings call tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow, yeah. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, if you do this, then what's the next president gonna do? Next president, like we're just 120 days into this one.
That assumes that I'm even going to allow an election.
Well, and also you have to remember for the permanent politician types, I mean, the permanent Republican types, like McConnell, for example, had no problem working under a Biden administration.
Right.
Ted Cruz, no problem being in an Biden administration, because it's like, well, now you're just a member of the resistance, and now it's fun and exciting. You do that for a little bit, and you make speeches,
Go
and
on
then
TV,
go on
write a
TV,
book.
be outraged, and then it's like, then it's your turn to be in power, and then you can, then you come up with some excuses for why you can't get stuff done, and it's like don't worry about it, like it's fine.
Like the McConaughey line in Wolf of Wall Street. It's a forget. It's just not real.
It's not real. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right, man. Good combo. See, that's what happens, man. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. We can't do that again. We're gonna do it 1 week.
Yeah.
Next time we'll do 25 minutes in and out.
Yeah. We'll set the timer. We'll have a timer running in the right-hand corner and be like,
oh, I got better than that.
There you go.
15 minutes per topic. We can only flip it 3 times. We got to go.
That's it.
All right,
we're done.
Man. It was good seeing you, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back sometime soon.
Next week.